Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, August 10th, 2026. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. Warm welcome and greetings are extended to councillors, staff, delegations, and observers who will participate in this meeting, whether they are physically in attendance in the council chamber in Listowel or being connected through web technologies. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers as able are invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after this meeting as an archived video. To those viewing this meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. Thank you. As always, at this time, I invite your decorum over the coming meeting. I have regrets tonight from Councillor Leanne Andreessen. Let's move to item 5 of our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. Members of Council have full lives with engagement in the community. Sometimes they may find themselves with a potential financial or pecuniary interest in an item at the Council table. Provincial legislation mandates councillors to declare this interest and in so doing avoid direct involvement in the consideration of or voting on the item. I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest, including those who have, if at all, I don't think we've had any, declared in writing to this point, to verbally advise the chair in public session. Documentation is to be submitted, if not already done, pursuant to council procedures. Councillors may declare now or at any point in the meeting should such interest be recognized. Colleagues, do any of you wish to avail yourselves of the opportunity to make such a declaration at this time? I will, actually. Deputy Mayor Kellum, you get called to service a little bit later. I will declare pecuniary interest in item 11.2, correspondence from United Way Perth Huron. I am an employee of that organization as well. That means I will declare on item 17.1, the confirmatory bylaw for the same reason. And we'll call on Deputy Mayor Kellum at that point to take the chair. All right, as chair of this meeting, I will manage the flow of proceedings tonight and largely in accord with our agenda and the rules of procedure. Some may be participating remotely by web conference. Should they wish to speak, they may draw the attention of the clerk to this using the conference technology's text chat function. If technical difficulties arise for remote participants, I will advise. We have Simon working with us tonight, and we always appreciate his efforts, and he will certainly help those if there are any challenges. Let us now focus on the people's business. Part of that focus is achieved when those in the chamber silence and put away their phones. Regarding item 6 of our agenda, I have a resolution for our consideration to approve the agenda, but there is an amendment, so perhaps I'll call on the clerk to speak to that. Clerk Klein.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. We are requesting that council amend tonight's agenda to remove item 9.1.1, the presentation for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan status update. This item will be brought forward to a future council meeting.
And with that, there will be further amendments to numbering in section 9 of our agenda, which will be handled by the clerk as the minutes are issued at the appropriate time. All right, so with that, we have a resolution for consideration as follows. The agenda for tonight's meeting be approved as amended to remove item 9.1.1, presentation, Parks and Recreation Master Plan status update, with subsequent renumbering of other items in item 9 of the agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kellum, seconded by Councillor Anstett. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Councillor Nordum records a manual in favor vote. 9 is our magic number tonight, and that means that resolution is carried. Thank you. We're now at item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be non-contentious, but they may warrant council's recognition and/or action. Grouping them does tend to expedite our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract one or more items from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. It is a big one tonight. There are 36 items on our consent agenda, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, anything to extract here or any corrections you'd like seen made to the minutes? Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Thank you. Through Mayor Kaysenberg, I'd like to extract from the agenda 7.3, please.
7.3, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone else. I will ask us to have a look at 7.19 and 7.20. They're essentially related items. But let's turn to Deputy Mayor Kellum first on 7.3.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. Just a question. I'm okay with this report. I'm just wondering if the neighbors that did the delegation are aware of this outcome.
Okay, thank you. Can someone from staff respond to status on this item? Looks like Deputy CAO Little will.
Through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Kellum, we would have to respond back to council. We don't have that information on hand, so we're happy to follow up with council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, colleagues, no further action there besides the staff intended follow-up. All right, so items 7.19 and 7.2, just want to check in with the clerk that we haven't issued a resolution pertaining to this one in the past, have we?
Through the mayor, as far as I'm aware, council did provide a support resolution to the initial resolution passed by the municipality of Northeastern Manitoulin back in June of this year.
Thank you. Okay, good. So we're covered. That removes my desire to consider that any further. All right, colleagues, anything else before we consider the omnibus resolution for the consent agenda? I'm not seeing it, so I have a resolution as follows, that consent items 7.1 to 7.36 be received for information in the minutes of the July 20th, 2026 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, so let's move forward then to agenda item number 8. We will now receive 2 delegations from parties with interest in council's business or authority. I remind the delegations that in accordance with the council's procedure bylaw, total time of 10 minutes of presentation is permitted with a question period to follow, the duration of which is at the discretion of the chair. Delegation is to present on the topic declared on the submitted request for delegation form, and deviations from the topic are generally not acceptable to the chair or this council. Decorum, as always, is required. I remind those delegating that they should not use the names of those who have not consented to such use. Our first delegation tonight under item 8.1 is from Tracy Nicol, President and Veterans Officer of the Listowel Legion, who wishes to address council pertaining to the possibility of a veterans crosswalk in Listowel. Ms. Nicol, please come forward. If you have others joining you, you're welcome to invite them too. And if you just press the microphone on the button on the microphone to turn it on.
Your Honourable Mayor, Councillors, my name is Tracy Nicol and I'm the President of the Listowel Legion Branch 259 and I'm also the Veteran Service Officer. I have brought some executive members and a few veterans to mostly make sure I'm kept in line. We are here to propose having a veteran sidewalk completed. It has been happening in many towns and cities across Canada. We would like to discuss the available options. I apologize for the paper. I've been out of town and my secretary is also away without a computer source. So I've had a few discussions and realized that there's construction on this road and that there may be construction on Wallace Ave in the next few years. So I would like to discuss with the people that are, knowledgeable about such things, how we can get this sidewalk done in the area. I would like to go across Wallace Street in front of the cenotaph. If that's not an option with MTO. We talked about both sides of Elizabeth, but we also know that we have a grant on way for the raising of the cenotaph. So there's a few things that might be considered in when we can have that done, but I'd like to propose that we get a sidewalk done in Listowel, North Perth.
Thank you. Colleagues, questions for Ms. Nicol or for her group? Anyone have questions? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, members of council, staff, and public. Thanks very much for your presentation, Tracy. My question is there an area or municipality close by that you have in mind that something would be similar to that you could sort of point us to in terms of our deliberations? Thank you.
Through the mayor, I'd like to bring your attention to the new one in Hairston, the newer one in Mitchell, and Nader, Mr. Nader has been at all of those openings. I can't think of any other small towns right now, but there's been many across. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions? Councillor Anstett first, then maybe Councillor Blazek. If I think I saw you wave your hand.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you. Thanks, Tracy, for your report. And yes, I know Wellington North has one, or actually 2, and Minto has one as well. So it's great to see. I know this is way off in the distance, but just in terms of potential funding, does the Legion have potential sponsors that they've talked to or anybody that might help with the construction or funding of this? Thank you.
We could, thank you. We can certainly fundraise, however, I believe Minto was partially paid by the the Wellington, whatever, Minto Council. And, sorry, and Kincardine was fully funded. But I do know that theirs is off the main street, to be clear. And we have in the past had Nick Cadet from the radio station put that out there, and we had many people that stated that they would help. So we have a few options. We just don't know how much the cost is or anything like that. We have, Sherry made this in between our two buildings, and it was free. She said she would do it out here for free too. So that's where we don't have any knowledge of what the price is and what locations, and with construction upcoming on Wallace and now on Elizabeth. So just so you know that I do know, and I've been preaching that it's not just easy.
Great, thank you. Anything further, Councillor Anstett? Councillor Blazek is next.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Thank you for your presentation. I had similar questions to Councillor Instead, but I also just wanted to say that I really very much support this. I think that we do less and less to honor our veterans, and these are really lovely to see popping around up in communities. So I am in support of this. I would encourage you to continue having conversations with staff so that you can figure out where and when and how much this opportunity is going to be best able to be done. And if, when we are back into our meeting, if a motion needs to be made to support your work with staff, I'd be happy to do that when that time comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blazek. I think actually that seems appropriate. I think that the right next step would be to direct staff to engage in consultations with the Legion to determine feasibility, cost, and other matters.
So I talked to Matt Rott, but he wasn't sure either about the construction and the timeline that's coming up for the town. So that's why I'm kind of here too, to get the differences in what the ideas could be, because he can't give us a price if it's across Wallace versus across Elizabeth, because they're not the same size. So, but
I think, you know, as I said, I think directing this to staff to prepare a report for us so that we can understand the possibilities. There are policy implications from such a move as well. I suspect that we will see other causes come out of the woodwork that also want these, and so I think we need to make a cautious decision that considers policy, cost, and a range of other factors. Colleagues, anyone feel strongly to the opposition of that? Deputy Mayor Callum?
No, just a comment. Thank you for your presentation, Tracy. So I took a drive over to Harrison. It's a beautiful sidewalk, and I noticed it does not go across an MTO road. So maybe it was easier to get that done. Have you been working with staff long with this, or just recently?
just recently, I have been working with Steve Wolf regarding the grant for the cenotaph to be lifted and moved appropriately so that it's not in that hole. That they came to us on that part, but so that's what we know that's happening. So you're right, like I think that asking anything to go across MTO is difficult. Even our November 11th parade becomes a headache, which, I mean, for 21 minutes, it shouldn't be, but That is always seems to be the case. So the sidewalks on both sides would be another thing to think about. But again, I need a price. But I know that our 40-strong veterans will work at raising money too. So
Okay, thank you.
Colleagues, Councillor Richardson?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kastenberg. Thanks, Tracy, for the presentation. Like Councillor Blazak had said, I fully support this idea and I like it. Was it your intention to have it done for the parade for this November?
Well.
Just given the construction and everything, but that was the...
So that kind of snuck up on the timeline too. So there seem to be so many different avenues that were popping up. But I was hoping for this Remembrance Day. We've had so many people. Like every time somebody posts it, I get, mail and wanting to know what I'm doing, and maybe I could get some, somewhere else to help me. But I know that that's not the point. It's here. It has to start here and then work its way through. So that's why we're here, just to get it moving.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. And just one follow-up. I would just like that if we are going to request that staff brings forward some information about that, and just given the timelines with the pending construction schedules and stuff, that we kind of make haste with that as soon as, not as soon as humanly possible, but to make haste with it to ensure that it gets looked at in a timely fashion, that if there are different options that require any back and forth discussions, that they can be held in a good time and a good time frame. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I'm sure that staff would be committed, given the nature of the cause. I think the only mitigating circumstance is some of the policy considerations that could be involved here that will create a precedent that we may have to think about. And I think staff deserves an opportunity not only to weigh in on potential costing and sites and work with the Legion on that, but to think about the potential for other requests that will come our way and have a more coherent policy on that. That would be my take. Okay, thank you, Ms. Nichol. Colleagues, I think we can take a resolution at this point. Is anyone comfortable with the resolution that we direct this to staff to produce a report, including the range of implications, and to continue working with the Legion team to identify possibilities for how this unfolds? Is that reasonable? All right. Clerk, I hope you got something from what I just muttered. All right. You want to read back to us what you have, probably fixed up a little bit.
Through the mayor, we have the following motion worded as follows: that staff be directed to engage in consultation with the Listowel Legion and report back to council regarding the feasibility of a veteran crosswalk, including proposed location, estimated capital and operating costs, timelines, and any applicable policy or operational considerations.
Sounds beautiful. Moved by Deputy Mayor Callum, it looks like, seconded by Councillor Johnston. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Norton.
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg, and through you, thank you for your presentation. As Mayor Todd kind of alluded to it, I think there's going to be more than just more organizations that are kind of looking for sidewalks. So I believe that this would be our first customized sidewalk. So we're kind of looking at a policy change here. So currently, I'm kind of okay with how sidewalks are. So sorry, all due respect to the Legion and respect to the veterans, but I won't be able to support this motion tonight. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'm not seeing any other hands waving at me. I think we're ready for the vote. If you can cue that up for us. Councillor Duncan. Councillor Duncan records a manual in favor vote. Councillor Anstedt records a manual in favor vote. Deputy Mayor Callum records a manual in favor vote. Apparently the hamsters in eScribe have stopped for the moment. And are we missing one? Okay, no, we've got them all. All right, so that is carried. Thank you so much for attending tonight.
Thank you.
And staff will be in touch, I'm sure, in the very near future. Okay, next up then is a delegation from two partner organizations in a project proposal. The first is Danielle Olson from Opus Group, and the second is Ryland Kinnan from Shared Spaces, who are seeking council endorsement for inclusion of our community in a pilot project for labor mobility of asylum seekers in Canada. I've had some consultations with them in the lead up to this, so I'm familiar with this, but it is appropriate for council certainly to understand this project in more detail. So welcome to Danielle and Rylan, and I'm going to assume that you can arm wrestle across the team's interface to decide who's going first.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor, and good evening, Council. My name is Danielle Olson. I'm the principal of Opus Group, and we'll tell you more about what we do, but I'm joined by Rylan McKinnon, and we are coordinated here. So Rylan is going to kick us off, and I do have a deck that I'm going to try to share as well here. Go ahead, Rylan.
Well, as Danielle gets that set up, I'll just say again, thank you, Mayor and Council, for making time for us on your agenda this evening. I have had the pleasure at Spaces Shared to meet with communities across the country. And what has stood out to me in these conversations, no matter whether they're in Newfoundland, whether they're in Ontario, whether they're in Alberta or BC, many communities are facing the same kind of core key challenges. And these challenges are often the need to attract labor, the need to retain labor, and the fact that housing is often a barrier to both the attraction and recruitment. And of course, this is a challenge for Canada and for our economy, because if we have communities that need labor and jobs that need filling, but we don't have any way to either find the labor or house the labor, we're going to have challenges across this country. So what we have tonight, what we're going to walk you through is a pilot project that attempts to address all three pieces. It attempts to find novel ways to recruit talent into your community, ensure that that talent has housing, and ensure that that talent is also supported in truly integrating and succeeding in North Perth. So Danielle's noting that she does not have permission to share her screen at the moment. If it's possible to get that permission, that would be fantastic, please.
And failing that, if we can project it from the local computer, I think we have access to that file here, so we could bring it up and you could just tell us to move to the next slide.
And we've abbreviated it or shortened the deck that you have. So alternatively, and whomever is doing that, thank you so much. You're lovely and very fast. So we can work with this, and then although I don't know, perhaps do you want to use the slides, Rylan? Just
I think we could quickly, Danielle, if we can.
We made some changes for the purpose of the presentation. I'm just going to quickly. How about we just go through here and we'll take you to the right slides. If you can just keep going, there's a lot of background here for you. And this deck was put together as more of a reading material than presenting material. So you can just keep going through. And you can keep going. One more time. Let's leave it here for now. So I can start by giving you a little bit of background on the pilot and then what it involves. And then I'll turn it back over to Rylan. So as the mayor said, Spaces Shared and Opus Group are collaborating on this specific project. We are a policy and program solution design group. We work across social policy, but workforce development is really our core area of expertise, if you will, and specifically focused on aligning often publicly funded employment and training and education services and programs with the needs of regional economies and key sectors. Of course, we know, as Rylan said, many communities across Canada and specifically in Ontario have both labor shortages as well as housing shortages. And about a year ago, we were working with a group that was actually Toronto-based, and part of their constituency is asylum claimants. And essentially, we found that so folks are, there's a very high percentage of asylum claimants living in the city of Toronto. That project had to do with direct pathways to housing as well. But in Toronto, however, Toronto city policy has changed in the last 6 months, largely due to changes in federal policy and funding. And basically, there's a limit on the shelter stay for asylum claimants in Toronto. So there's currently 1,000 single asylum claimants living in Toronto shelters. We conducted a survey that's documented in this deck for your reference at the end of last year to kind of assess folks' willingness to relocate. And there was a very high willingness and desire to relocate and leave Toronto, assuming that there was a job on the other end, basically like a job and housing that could be paid for through regular employment. So we've been working closely with the City of Toronto and are currently engaging the province. And as Rylan and the Mayor said, we're currently looking for what we're calling receiving community partners. So ideally 3 in the province of Ontario who would be interested in piloting this. And basically it involves identifying on the front end the key sector, it could be one or sectors that have labor shortages in the receiving community, and then working with employers to ensure that we understand the specific requirements, and then essentially creating a screening and referral system for asylum claimants single asylum claimants who are living in Toronto shelters to relocate. However, the intention is that they would have an employment offer before they relocate, and they would also have a housing plan in place. And then following that, the pilot would include retention supports with a focus on settlement and integration, and also supports if somebody, for example, lost their job. And Spaces Shared, of course, is a housing platform. So I'll let Rylan talk a little bit more about the housing component.
Thank you, Danielle. So Spaces Shared is an intergenerational home sharing platform that was founded recognizing that older adults often have spare room in their homes, often have a desire for connection and community, may desire some help around the house, and may benefit from additional rental income. And the initial audience that we supported in terms of folks seeking homes was students. Students were seeking affordable housing, also connection into community, a desire to really get plugged into community. So we built a platform that makes it safe and easy to put your spare room to work. Spaces Shared is an online platform that allows you to take the estimated 5 million empty bedrooms in Ontario and leverage them to create more housing supply. So if you're signing up for Spaces Shared, the first thing you do is you create a profile. You tell us about yourself, what you are willing to accept in a guest, what you're not willing to accept in a guest, whether that is dietary restrictions, substance consumption, daytime and overnight guests for your guest. We have everyone on the platform verified to ensure they are who they say they are. We verify that the host lives at the address where they're listed. Once hosts and guests have completed their profiles, they can match to each other. They can see how high a match score they've got. They can see what they do and do not match on. If they think they might be a good fit, they message in the platform. If after messaging they want to get to know each other more, they enter into a video chat in the platform. And if they decide to proceed with the home share arrangement, the home share arrangement is managed through the platform as our payments. And at that stage, both the host and the guest complete an enhanced criminal record check as well. So what this means for hosts participating in it, and what we hear from hosts who participated in it, is it means that their house becomes more lively, more active again. They make a new friend, a new companion. And one of the things I always love to share is that the age really disappears in these home share relationships, and people just become friends. For many, having home share means that they can stay in their home a little bit longer. We often see students doing garbage and recycling, cleaning up around the house, getting up on stools, changing smoke alarms, shoveling snow, raking leaves. And of course, the reality is extra income is helpful for everyone as well. So what we are looking at with this pilot is leveraging this established model to help create more housing options for for asylum claimants that may be coming into the community. We also will be looking at other housing models, whether there is, whether there are apartments available, basement apartments available. We'll be looking at that as well. But one of the core elements will be leveraging home sharing to identify, can we open up some homes to these folks coming in to seek jobs in North Perth. I'm going to pass it back to you, Danielle.
Thanks, Ryland. So at this point, we are seeking support, or basically we're looking for receiving communities who want to put their hand up and say we want to be part of the pilot, because we're at the stage with the province where we want to pursue specific funding options, and of course want to have partners identified for that stage. So what and I'll kind of touch on a couple more points before sort of what we need from receiving communities. Sorry, my mind is going in a few directions. The pilot, just for reference, will also include the ability to create like transportation solutions locally. So similar to housing. So in a bit, like basically the starting point is buy-in from the municipality, from council. Following that, it's confirming the sectors and the number of people that you would be seeking to have relocate to North Perth. So we had targeted 30 as the sort of low end of that. In speaking to other municipalities, we've spoken to municipalities that are not far away who, want to take, upwards of 100. But of course, we don't want to overload the community either. So we were looking at 30 as the low end, but you could certainly go up from there. In terms of transportation, so we realize North Perth is a rural community, as are many communities in similar situations. So the project, like the pilot and the funding that we are seeking, would have the ability to develop specific transportation solutions and employer specific. So whether that's employer sponsored or ride sharing or carpooling, just to address the rural nature of the community and transportation. The other thing to note is that the project would include resources for the municipality. So this is designed to be of no cost to the receiving community municipalities. If anything, there would be additional budget, certainly to offset the cost of staff, but to ensure that the municipality is not at a loss. The last thing to note is that in terms of local settlement services, we know that North Perth, for example, doesn't have like a local LIP. So those services would be provided as part of the pilot as well, likely by a neighboring organization, like an organization that already has that expertise to provide the local settlement and integration support. So what we're looking for right now, and of course we will want to answer your questions, is really to see whether you're interested in being part of the pilot. And then following that, we would need to work with staff to determine what the key sector was and targeted number of individuals. And as I said, it was just like 6 weeks ago that we confirmed with the city of Toronto that there's still 1,000 people, 1,000 single folks living in Toronto shelters who are interested in relocating. Ryland, I'll turn it back to you.
Perfect. So we're very happy to take any questions from you, Mr. Mayor, or members of council. We are excited by this project. We think it can be incredibly impactful. And we hope we'll be partnering with a number of municipalities to move this forward. So happy to take any questions that you have.
All right. Thank you to the team of presenters on this project. Colleagues, questions at this point? Anything you want to know? Sorry, Councillor Blazek.
Thank you, through Mayor Kasenberg. Thank you very much for your presentation tonight. I do have one brief question, especially considering that many of the people that you are saying are providing rooms are some of our most vulnerable senior citizens. What protections are in place for homeowners that decide that the asylum seeker who is already in their home is not the best fit for their space?
That is a great question. I'll answer this through the mayor. So this is something that I should have mentioned in my opening remarks or description of the program. So we do a few things. First of all, we check in the day that the guest and the host first connect. We check in a week after, and we check in every month. We send a survey out to say, is this going well? And we ask both parties, is it going well? And if they respond with anything other than it's going great, we do a follow-up phone call. We try to remedy the situation, see if we can solve the issues that come up. We've had some very unexpected and unlikely issues come up. We've had some more standard issues come up. We've been able to resolve a number. And in scenarios where the issue could not be resolved, we've been able to end those home sharing relationships in relatively short order. But I think the key thing is the work we do up front to make sure that both parties understand who they're potentially living with, what their expectations are, what they are comfortable with, what they are not comfortable with is really critical. Obviously, the background checks are really important as well. And just staying in touch and making sure that if an issue comes up, even if it's a small issue, we can address it quickly and help to support the match and moving forward. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, anyone else with questions or comments? Councillor Rothwell?
Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg, and through you, thanks very much to our presenters. The question I have is, are there other municipalities, rural municipalities, where your group has been directly involved, and especially in these circumstances where we don't have a great connection for public transit? I mean, you've talked about ride sharing and so on, but are there any other smaller rural municipalities that you've been involved with where this program has been successful? Thank you.
I'll speak to
Go
this.
ahead, Danielle.
And then, Rylan, maybe you can speak to other similar communities that you've worked with, although it won't address transportation. So this is the first time we're seeking to pilot this specific initiative. So the specific focus on relocating asylum claimants from a large urban area like Toronto to smaller rural communities. So we have not done this specific thing before. We have, however, worked with several communities, and there's lots of precedent and good examples of community, like rural communities, developing custom transportation solutions, if you will, outside of more traditional public transportation. Sometimes they do this in collaboration with the municipality. So the simplest, or I shouldn't say simplest, because there's lots of them can be simple. So because this project and kind of similar initiatives that are sectorally and regionally focused work very closely with the employers on the front end. When there's a large number of people working at one employer site, for example, the ability to actually work with the employer based on shifts and actually have like a bus of some kind, transport people is one. The other is helping people actually purchase cars through low interest loans through community organizations. And that's also done in sectors where people just have to like be on the job site at 5 a.m., for example, and don't already have a vehicle of their own. There's good precedent for that. And then again, the simpler version is like coordinating where there are some people who have access to a vehicle, potentially through a program like the one I described, coordinating carpooling. So those are the ones that I am most familiar with. There are, of course, the projects often led by the municipality where it's like dial-a-bus. So we could potentially look at those as well. What's nice about the funding that we are pursuing is that it does have flexibility for like what is often referred to as like wraparound supports, which transportation is certainly one. So we would be looking at creative solutions based on the specific geography and employers and shift hours and things like that.
Councillor Rothwell, further?
Thanks very much. Through you, Mayor Todd, thanks very much for the answer. My next question deals specifically with are asylum seekers mostly single individuals, or do you have situations where there's a couple or families involved here as well? I take it from the presentation it's mostly single people that we would be looking at, but perhaps you could correct me. Thank you.
No, it's a great question. So there are certainly asylum claimants who have children and dependents and are, in a family unit. For the purpose of this project, we wanted to isolate and really focus on singles because we expect that it will be far more complicated to relocate families, both from the housing perspective as well as from, school and childcare, et cetera. So although there are asylum claimants with families, we were working with the city specifically to understand the numbers related to singles. So the numbers that I gave were that subgroup of singles, specifically living in Toronto shelters. So this isn't also looking at the asylum population who are couch surfing and who are precariously housed because of the affordability challenges in Toronto.
Okay, anyone else with questions? All right. Colleagues, are you willing to entertain a motion that would direct staff to begin the process of us being one of the receiving communities in this? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Just for discussion points, this council's heard directly of our issues which our employers have talked to us about is the need for more workers in our communities. The challenge, I think, at least that I see, is that there's no long or guarantee in terms of if we are accepted into this, if council wishes to be part of and we are accepted into the program, is that when individuals come, how long that they will be within our community in terms of the way the process works. I don't make myself an expert in terms of the asylum seeker approval process through the federal government, but that's a concern that I have going forward. But I do know that we've talked, there is definitely a need for workers to come into our community to help address our employment shortages here that we have, but I'd like to hear more from council. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wishing to comment? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Danielle and Ryland, for the presentation. My concern is and 30 doesn't seem like a lot, but what if we can't find 30 spots for them? Then what do we do? Are we back to square one? Do we back out at that point? You know what I mean? I just don't. I'm just not sure we're going to find 30 spots. It doesn't seem like that many, but I'm just nervous that when it's a new pilot program, that people are going to be a little anxious to open their homes up at this point. Thank you.
Do the proponents have any comments to make about that? Danielle or Rylan?
Yes, for sure. So the first piece is the employers and the jobs. So nobody would relocate without an actual job offer. And at the same time, and us kind of working on the front end to validate that demand and create the screening process, et cetera, we kind of collectively, our team and Ryland's team would be working with city staff on the housing plan. And we expect that it will be a combination of home sharing and existing rental stock. So we're not expecting every unit to necessarily be a home sharing unit, but obviously if it is, that's great for everybody. If we aren't going to relocate somebody without housing. So the intention before we kind of move into any kind of actual contract or agreement is that city staff are able to validate with employers that yes, they are interested and have kind of a confident sense in what that number is and the targeted occupations. We ideally want that information kind of going into a proposal, and that will inform what that initial number is. However, in the first 3 months of the project, we are working with the employers and then building the housing plan. So if the housing and the jobs are not available, people will not relocate. Like that's kind of the first milestone, if you will, in the project. But we want to do our due diligence on the front end, even before entering into the project, ideally to prevent that. So, but folks will not relocate without housing or a job.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Duncan? Okay.
Maybe I'm just not 100% clear. So if you're working with the employer and finding them the job and you're going to set up the housing, what, as a municipality, what are we doing in this whole program?
I will forward the slides. I don't know if we're able to share them with you afterwards, but we had a better slide on specific roles. But what we're asking for from the municipalities is two things. The first is to work with us at this stage and then in the sort of first 3 months of the project to really connect with the employers, because you are on the ground and you have those relationships often through economic development. So at this stage, it's identifying what the key sector or sectors are and getting kind of early validation from employers that they are interested and this is something that they want to partner on. And then kind of further, just kind of coordinating, making introductions to employers in that first phase. That's the first thing. The second is on the housing side. And maybe Rylan, you can speak more to that.
Certainly. So we do a number of different things to raise awareness about this as an option, because often what we hear is, oh, this is such a great idea, and I have 2 empty bedrooms or I have 3 empty bedrooms, and it would be lovely to have some additional companionship, help around the house, and income. So typically when we're working with a partner organization, it is identifying ways to get the word out. It might be doing joint community engagement activities where potential hosts can come in, ask questions of our team, understand the process better, start their profiles if they're interested in signing up. But really what we're looking for from the municipality is to be a convener and to kind of help guide this in the early stages of the process and make sure that, as Danielle said, there is an interest and a willingness and a need amongst employers for this program. And then to help us engage the community so we can build out the housing supplies.
Yeah. So the work for the municipality is really on the front end, largely in the first 3 months of the project, as well as this stage, connections to employers, and then informing this housing plan. So promoting home sharing, and then if there are other beyond the obvious rental stock available, ways to build the housing plan.
Okay, anyone else with questions or comments? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this question is for everybody on that side of the table. Whose lap is this falling into? And do they have the time to devote to a project like this? I know everybody's looking at Jessica. I just want to know whose lap it's falling into, and do we have the time to devote to the front end that Danielle talked about?
Ms. McLean.
I sat behind Nathan thinking I would be hid, but that did not work. Thank you for the question through the mayor. We have had some talks with Danielle and Rylan. I think we would appreciate to have the opportunity to talk to them a bit more to better understand the project and what that first phase would include in order to be able to really determine if we do have the current staff capacity to take it on, or if we would have to look at additional resources.
Can you comment on how this aligns with our strategic corporate plan?
Yes, I definitely can do that. So our corporate plan, we do prioritize workforce attraction, housing availability, community service such as public transportation. As council may be aware, we have started the process for our new strategic plan, and I'm fairly confident that these issues will continue to come out from our consultation and the research for that plan. So I do think that this project would align with our plan. However, I do think that there is a bit more work to be done before that we should commit to it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Anstad.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, through you, and I'll just be brief, and I share Councillor Johnston's concerns too, just regarding staff time. I mean, our staff are already doing a lot, and the next couple months here in North Perth, I'm sure everyone's aware, are going to be quite busy, especially October. So that's my concern too. So maybe just perhaps some more information on this at a future council meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone have other comments still at this point? Councillor Rothwell?
Thanks, Mayor Todd. And just through staff, have there been any discussions regarding this program with our local employers? And if so, has there been expressed an interest that they would be willing to step forward, like in terms of whether they would convene like a job fair, or what is envisioned to have this? Because as I understand, if there's no job offer, it doesn't really matter whether we have 30 or 60 people willing to open up their homes. So the employers are the crucial, one of the crucial steps to go forward, as I understand. Thank you.
I think as I heard it, and I'll defer to Ms. McLean in a minute, but I think as I heard it, that's the point of council at this point saying, yes, we're sort of vaguely interested in being a potential receiving community because it will open up the possibility over the next 3 months of sort of doing the homework and figuring out whether there is a market, if you will, from employers to create these jobs and whether the housing environment is appropriate for it. So I think, to me, that's the decision, right? Is do we sort of give a gentle nod and say, let's go a little further down the road and find out whether this is viable or not? Ms. McLean?
Yeah, just to add on to that, we would appreciate the opportunity to do some preliminary outreach to our employers to see where those shortages are and if this type of program would be an interest to fill those. I think there would also be benefit in doing maybe some public engagement on the idea of house sharing, and if we do have members in our community that would be open to that type of arrangement.
Okay. Councillor Duncan, then Councillor Blazek.
You had mentioned that there was funding for this program. Is that federal funding or provincial funding? And is that funding contingent on municipal buy-in?
Can I answer the question?
Sorry, please do, yeah.
We are currently pursuing provincial funding. It is technically not contingent on municipal buy-in. However, it would need to be regional, like we'd need to have the region identified or the municipal, like the place it's going to occur identified, as well as the sectors identified in advance. Because of the nature of our proposal and the inclusion of housing and the specific focus on asylum claimants, and our other objective is to support long-term integration and retention in community, we prioritized collectively the engagement of municipalities on the front end. So it's not a requirement of the funding, but we thought based on the combined factors of housing and settlement and the connection to economic development, that engaging the municipality made a lot of sense. So that's why we kind of started here. I also just wanted to say that what we have budgeted in terms of city staff, we had initially budgeted 2 FTEs for the project. Obviously, that wouldn't come into play until the project was funded, but just wanted to share that as well.
Councillor Blazek.
Thank you, through Mayor Kasenberg. I have sort of several initial responses to this or feelings about this, but one of them, a pretty big one, is I'm struggling very much with the idea of any financial burden for this pilot project falling on our ratepayer. Times are very tough. There are a lot of very big projects in this community coming up in the very near future, and they will be a big drain on municipal resources. And I struggle very much with the idea of any of this, any financial burden that may come from this, from transportation needs, falling on our taxpayers rather than, I don't know, employers or the grant money that you're seeking. That's a very big concern for me.
Okay, did the proponents wish to address the concern of municipal funding in the mix or not in the mix?
Actually take that if you want, Danielle. So We recognize that by design or in the design that there needs to be resources in place that provide additional incremental support for the project, not that we're relying on existing resources within the municipality. So as Danielle had mentioned, the proposal will include a budgeted amount that should cover 2 full-time equivalent employees for the municipality if the project is to go ahead. And I think the other element I would add in is that if the municipality responds well to the home sharing component of this project, one of the things that we like to talk about is this is bringing actually additional resources into those host homes. What appropriate pricing looks like in the community is to be determined, but generally what we see across Canada is between $500 and $800 a month, which for a lot of homeowners can be a very significant resource. So we would anticipate that this should, obviously in the early days, there's going to need to be some resources to support that initial engagement with employers. But as the project proceeds, we expect to be able to, through the grant and through the program, provide resources for the municipality.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else with questions or comments? Okay, Councillor Johnston.
Do we need to give an answer tonight, or can we stew on this for a couple of weeks?
Tell us about your timeline, your needs for having your potential pilot communities lined up.
We're hoping to have pilot communities lined up by September because we are in kind of active discussions again. However, it's always a process. So, and of course, that's why we're kind of here tonight. We want to make sure that this is right for North Perth and all the communities that we'd be engaging at this stage. So certainly, like, we're happy to work with city staff and answer any other questions that you have following this.
Okay. So it sounds like we have a little bit of runway if we're trying to consider whether to engage with this. They would appreciate September, it sounds like. Okay. Colleagues, any other questions at this point in time? Do we have a suggested action? Councillor Rothwell?
Thanks, Mayor Todd. I guess what's intriguing me is you're looking for a pilot project and communities throughout Ontario to address this. So why did you come to North Perth? Was there specific things that were attractive to you in terms of North Perth potentially being host of this one of the pilot projects, or what made you interested in North Perth? Thank you.
Did the proponents wish to respond?
Yes, I'll take this one, Mayor Kasenberg. When we started to look at municipalities that would make sense, we went to municipalities that we'd had engagement with previously. So Mayor Kasenberg and I had the opportunity to connect at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference. I believe it was 2 years ago now. And we were talking about your municipality, talking about some of the challenges in housing and in labor. And we had some very high level conversations around, well, could home sharing potentially be part of labor recruitment and retention strategy? So when Danielle and I started to talk about this model where we're trying to do obviously a few things in one, I thought it would make sense to reach back out because I had had the opportunity to speak with Mayor Kasenberg about this, and it sounded as though this was a community where this might make sense.
Okay, I don't see any other hands waving at me, so I think we'll wrap up this discussion. Is the will of council to take a 2-week pause on this and consider this at the next council meeting as gives us a chance to consult with community and ask staff if they have any advice or input on this? Yes. Councillor Blazek.
Thank you, through Mayor Kasenberg. Would it be possible to give council, the 2 weeks to decide if we're really ready to buy in, but also in the interest of staff time and the proponents timeline, give staff leeway to like continue discussions, to get more information to bring back to council and figure out if they're going to have the capacity to do this before, because I feel like that'll influence our decision in 2 weeks, but I don't want to hold things up. Is it possible to give that sort of leeway to staff?
CAO Snell, would you like to weigh in on this?
Certainly, staff are happy to prepare something for the next council meeting. The unfortunate part is that both Director of Strategic Initiatives and myself will be on vacation, unfortunately. So I don't know if the next meeting, the first meeting in September, is too late for the proponents, which would be September 14th, I believe.
Okay. Does that mean you don't have time to prepare a report that represents staff opinion about how to proceed, or?
Yeah, we can prepare a report, just the questions that council may have, that may be limited,
Okay.
who can answer them.
Ms. Little, will you be involved in assisting with this potentially, or could you be involved in assisting with this potentially, given that you have some experience with housing as well?
To the mayor, normally this is something that would fall under CAO Snell's purview, given that it's one of his teams. But if it's council's wish, we can certainly try and prepare the report. I will be in attendance at the council meeting on the 24th, but I'm just not sure that I'd be able to answer all of council's questions at that time.
Okay, fair enough. And certainly, colleagues, I think if we proceed down this path, if there are additional questions or concerns that you have, either raised yourself or through consultations you have with members of the community, it would be appropriate to send those questions in to staff if that's the course of action we wish to take. So if we wish to invite staff to prepare a report for council in 2 weeks' time, then if you have those questions, certainly I'm sure staff would appreciate having them. Yes? So is a resolution in order then that we direct staff to bring forward a report in 2 weeks' time? Not all at once, folks. Yes? All right, so Councillor Duncan will move. Can I call for a seconder? Councillor Richardson will second, thank you. Any further discussion or debate? So we're shooting for 2 weeks, a report. We acknowledge that CAO Snell and Ms. McLean will be away, but Ms. Little will do her best. That's what I heard, and I know her best is great, so. Any further discussion? You have a resolution prepared for us at the clerk's table. All right, let's have a vote if we can pull that up. Councillor Anstead records a manual in favor vote. Councillor Blazek? Can you read the resolution?
Certainly. Through you, Mayor Kaseberg, we have the resolution drafted as that staff be directed to continue discussions with Opus Group and Spaces Shared regarding the municipality's potential participation in the labor mobility strategy for asylum claimants in Ontario pilot project and report back at the August 24th council meeting regarding next steps and required commitments.
Okay. Recording manual in favor vote. Thank you. Councillor Blazek records a manual in favor vote. Anyone else needing to record a vote here? Okay, and actually we have everyone accounted for. That is carried. Thank you to our delegation tonight. We'll get back to you. I think that's the message. We'll get back to you.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, that brings us to item 9 on our agenda. First up are items from the Corporate Services Department as item 9.1. In item 9.1.1, Council is provided with the 2025 financial statements in draft form as prepared by KPMG, an independent auditor engaged for this purpose. I'll call on Ashton Romani, our Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer, to give us the scoop here. Mr. Romani, you have discretion to call guests as you wish. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kasemer, and good evening, members of council. So as council will recall, KPMG conducted the municipality's audits for the 2023 and 2024 fiscal years. Staff continue that relationship for the 2025 fiscal year, and we're pleased to present that the 2025 consolidated financial statements are presented to Council on a more routine schedule. For the sake of time, I'll refrain from reviewing the statements in detail, as their financial results are outlined in the audit statements and summarized within the staff report. However, one notable transaction worth highlighting is the transfer of Perth Meadows. As disclosed in Note 2 of the financial statements, the municipality recorded a $4.9 million loss on disposal. This represents a non-cash accounting adjustment that is required under public sector accounting standards and does not reflect the actual loss of municipal funds. This accounting treatment is the main reason for the significant change in the annual surplus, which decreased from approximately $6.2 million in 2024 to $1.4 million in 2025. So before passing it over to our engagement partner, Brendan Hall, I'd like to thank Finance Supervisor Adam Seifert for his work on this file, and as well the team at KPMG for their efforts throughout this process. So without further ado, I'd like to turn over to Brendan. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashton. And driving forward is this one. Perfect. Thank you very much. Perfect. So my name is Brendan Hall, engagement partner. And as Ashton indicated, we are at the stage where we are really 95% complete our audit work. There's a few administrative tasks, including our discussions here tonight with council, but we are prepared, upon conclusion of this discussion and the final few administrative elements of our financial statement audit, to issue a clean auditor's report for the municipality of North Perth. The purpose of today is I will walk through with council our audit findings report, which will touch on key areas of audit focus. I will touch on the the Perth Meadows transaction as well, which, as Ashton indicated, is a one-time transaction that does add some variances or volatility to the financial statements that are presented in draft form. So the first slide that I'll stop at and talk at is materiality. So every audit that's conducted in Canada is required for us to assess what is material to the municipality. For a non-profit focused organization, that's typically based on the size of your revenues. And so for our audit purpose for 2025, we've set that materiality level at $900,000. That does not mean that we are only looking for differences, issues, or items of concern that are above $900,000. That guides the purpose of the audit. We are working to ensure that captions are materially free from error of any amount that would approach $900,000. Any differences that are in excess of 5% of that number are communicated in our report and discussed with this group and included in the management representation letter that is signed by management prior to the issuance of the financial statements. Important to remember that the draft statements that you're looking at are consolidated financial statements. They include the operations of what we refer to as the main municipality. They also include the cemetery board, the library board, and the business improvement area. Those three organizations are relatively insignificant for the consolidated financial statements. So our audit focus is really on the main operating entity, and you can see that that represents north of 99% of the balances within the financial statements. Every audit in Canada, we're required to enter the audit with the presumption that there's two significant risks in the financial statement audit. And that is the risk of management override within the financial statements. So management in their position is in a unique position that they can override certain controls should they desire to execute an outcome within the financial statements. There are certain procedures in addition to the testing that we do substantively that we're required to perform. Again, we have to do this in every single audit. It's not unique to North Perth. And the work that we do there is we use some computer and AI developed technology that actually ingests the entire general ledger for the municipality for the entire year and goes through some risk rating in terms of transactions that may appear unique or have anomalies. There were no issues of concern identified in the performance of this procedure. The other significant risk that we are required to consider, but that we have rebutted, and we rebut this in municipal audits, is with respect to revenue recognition. So for profit-oriented entities listed on the TSX, things where revenue is a real focus point and there may be bias to inflate that revenue, we're required to perform additional procedures.
We have not performed those specific procedures on the municipal audit, similar to how we approach other municipal audits that we conduct. We still audit revenue. We're just not auditing it with the specific assumption that there is bias to inflate that revenue. Cash and long-term liabilities, balance sheet items or statement of financial position items, very significant. Okay, so North Perth has a very significant cash balance. They also have sizable borrowings. So there are substantive procedures that our engagement team has to perform and execute to get to a point where we're comfortable with those balances. So our engagement team confirms directly with North Perth's various bank accounts to ensure that the amounts that are recorded in the general ledger are accurate. And we do a very similar procedure, but on the debt side, to ensure that what is shown as a liability, debt in your financial statements, is accurate with what those third parties are confirming. No issues were identified in the performance of those procedures. Investments. So I know at our last meeting, we talked quite a bit about investments because municipal accounting standards had changed a little bit in terms of those principal protected notes. So you recall, we spoke about the fact that because they have a derivative component, they're required to be valued at fair value, not cost, in your financial statements. So a couple procedures that were done here. First of all, we're confirming directly with the investment house that holds those investments. And we are also using what we refer to as our pricing desk. So we have an independent party that values what those PPNs, what the fair value of those instruments are. And we did have a difference in terms of what came back from our valuations team compared to what was on the investment statement. And that was acknowledged by the investment firm as an error in what had been reported on their investment statement. So we did have an adjustment to correctly present those investments in the financial statements. And so on that slide there, you'll note the PPNs are quite in the money, if I use casual language. So the indexes that they are tracking have done very well over the past year. So you'll see in your statement of remeasurement gains and losses, which is a relatively new financial statement for municipalities, you'll see quite a strong gain. That gain isn't realized in your statement of operations, or more commonly referred to as your P&L, until the investments are sold and that gain is actually realized. The next section that we focus on, again, because of, I would say, a lot of moving pieces in the nature of the account, is the obligatory reserves and deferred revenue. So the largest pieces of those obligatory reserves would be the development charges and other deferred grants. So grants that you have received money for, but you have not fulfilled your obligations or activities. So we do a handful of procedures in this area. For development charges, we're testing the collection and the receipt of those. And I would say the more sensitive audit procedure that we execute is ensuring that development charges that have been realized as revenue in fiscal 2025 have had eligible DC spending incurred. So development charges, again, can't be realized as revenue until the municipality has spent those funds on DC eligible activities. So there's a bit of a delay. So we did a number of procedures in that capacity. No issues or differences were identified with the obligatory reserves. Another area of focus for us, a very material number in your financial statements. Every municipality has a large value of tangible capital assets. Roads, bridges, sidewalks, talking about those tonight, are not insignificant. So our team performs sample testing on additions. So ensuring that what the municipality is capitalizing does meet the definition of a tangible capital asset. It's got a multi-year benefit and it's not indicative of something that's repair and maintenance related. The other item to flag here is tangible capital assets. If you're looking at your financial statements year over year, you'll notice that number has decreased. And so on the surface, you might say, oh, has amortization exceeded what we have injected as new tangible capital assets? But as Ashton indicated prior to my presentation, a sizable transaction with respect to Perth Meadows, and the impact of tangible capital assets is that building came off your books, right? So there's quite a sizable amount of tangible capital assets, book value that remained, that came off the financial statements of North Perth and contributed to that loss on disposal that Ashton indicated in his section of the report. Accounts payable and accrued liabilities, not a complicated area for the audit team by any means, but it is one of the areas of our audit where we're performing our test in a very different angle. So most of the audit, we are testing what management has recorded in the general ledger, what transactions management has recorded. For the search for unrecorded liabilities, which is a key area in your payables and your liabilities section of the balance sheet, our key focus is really completeness. We want to make sure that at December 31st, 2025, which is the date these financial statements represent, the liabilities are complete. We've captured everything that pertains to December 31st, 2025. So our audit procedures actually look at transactions in a variety of form post year end. So we start looking at bank account activity post December 31st. We look at payable subledgers post December 31st, and we evaluate a sample of transactions post December 31st, assessing if they pertain to December 31st and ensuring that those that should have been recorded are recorded. And we did not identify any issues in the performance of that procedure. So we are required to pause kind of during this presentation and ensure council has an appropriate time to let us know if there are any concerns that they're aware of with the financial records or the financial statements prior to the conclusion of this report. I'll maybe pause here. I do have a few more slides to pick up, but just so that we don't skip over this one and come back, maybe I'll pause for a second.
All right, thank you for that opportunity. Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments that you wish to make with regards to the report thus far? I'm not seeing any. Oh, Councillor Rothwell is thinking about it, and he finally raises his finger.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. First of all, let me say I think I, as well as all of council, are quite happy to see that we're right where we're supposed to be in terms of timing. So I know there's a lot of work that was done to get us to this point. So I want to thank you for that, first of all. On page 7 of the report, and again, I only noticed this as I was going through, but my question is specifically on the chart dealing with significant accounting policies. And specifically, when we're talking about assets, it's infrastructure, water, sewer, and landfill. My question is, it says 4 to 100 years. I'm just wondering, is that correct, or is it 40 to 100 years? Because this is, again, on page 7 of the report, page 199 of our agenda package, and the number says 4 to 100 years. I thought any of our infrastructure for water, sewer, and landfill would be much more than 4 years.
Ashton, are you able to help me with that one or no? So I think he's referring to the notes.
Through Mayor Kasenberg, it's something we'd have to investigate. It potentially could be a typo. It might be 40, but we do have a range, and I'd have to check with our asset management coordinator, just double check to ensure, because there's a variety of assets that do rest within that.
Fair enough. I was going to send an email through you. I was going to send an email earlier today because it's a very fine detail, but I was shocked to see 4, which I believe is a very short time frame for most of our infrastructure. That's all, but otherwise no other concerns. Thank you.
Anyone else with questions during this pause? Okay, proceed.
Perfect, thank you. The last kind of piece of the presentation that I would plan to speak to before taking questions is just a requirement. So we're required to communicate when there is what we consider to be a significant and unusual transaction within the financial statements with this group. Ashton indicated it in his presentation, but absolutely, the disposal of Perth Meadows had a material impact to the financial statements, impacted a number of areas of the financial statements. So your tangible capital assets decreased, which was an obvious area, but there were also a number of liabilities that decreased, right? There were some of the deferred life lease balances, and some of the liabilities came down as well. So it impacted a number of captions of the financial statements. We reviewed the agreements that were executed between the acquiring entity and yourselves, the selling entity. We were comfortable with the transaction and how it was recorded by management. The significance of that transaction is really why there's a note to the financial statements, and it's early in the financial statements to indicate its significance, right? So there's intention in terms of where that's presented within the financial statements. So that's really what I would plan to go through. There definitely are appendices at the back. If anyone has any questions on any of those, I'm happy to walk through them or take questions at this point in time.
Thank you. Colleagues, anything further on this matter? Councillor Rothwell, is your concern with regards to that statement of the time range so significant that you wish to delay approval of these
Not at all.
reports?
It was very, can be addressed.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's turn to Mr. Romani. He's got his hand up, so he wants to weigh in.
Through Mayor Kasenberg, we'll certainly revisit that figure, but we just did a quick scan back to 2011. That has been listed from 4 to 100 years, so there's probably a reason why it was there, but there's no harm taking a look just to double check for sure.
Okay. That's a big window. There's a big difference between a 4-year-old and a 100-year-old. Okay. Well, maybe not so much, I don't know. Anyone with further comments or questions before we entertain a resolution for approval and acceptance of these statements? Okay, I'm not seeing it, so I do have a resolution as follows. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the Municipality of North Perth 2025 consolidated financial statements. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Johnston is nodding yes. Who will be our seconder? Councillor Anstead, thank you. Any discussion or debate? I'm not seeing any, so let's have that vote. And Councillor Richardson records a manual in favor vote. Councillor Nordum records a manual in favor vote. That is unanimous and that is carried. Thank you for your service. Mr. Romani, as always, thank you for the diligence. Mr. Seifert as well. We heard the message that your team is quite good, and we thank you that you acknowledged our team in so doing.
Yeah, and one final remark in closing, as was indicated by one of the councillors, we've been working diligently to really speed up and get the municipality in what I would refer to as a more standard traditional timeline. And so since being appointed, we worked really through almost 2 audit years together collectively with Ashton and Adam. And then I would say this year, even more streamlined, right? In year 3, of the relationship moving as efficiently as we can to get you guys to the timeline that you like. So in terms of the preparation, we were really impressed with, we call it a PBC listing, prepared by client. So we have a wish list of all the items that we need for our team to get started. Very rare do we get into a client environment where all of that is ready for us day 0. Often 75–80% of that is ready day 0 and stuff trickles in. We very much had a full package. Our wish list was complete and ready to go, and so that contributes to us getting to where we are today. So thank you to the finance team as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to hear. Almost want to do this. All right. Thank you. Let's move on to our next area of report here. This one coming from the clerk side of corporate services as to item 9.1.2. Staff bring forward an interesting report recommending that this council issue a bylaw as declaration of non-application of the Line Fences Act, a provincial statute in our community. The history here is somewhat interesting, and there has not been any action seemingly for appointed fence viewers during my tenure as mayor. I guess things are just that good. All right, sorry, poor joke. I'll call on Lindsay Raftis, our legislative assistant, to bring us insight into this rather curious legacy. Ms. Raftis.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Kasenberg and members of council. The Line Fences Act establishes a framework for the resolution of line fence disputes between the owners of adjoining properties. Line fences are the fences that mark the boundary between properties and are often referred to as boundary or division fences. The use of the Line Fences Act is limited to 2 relevant scenarios where neighboring landowners will be permitted to make an application. One being where no fence currently exists at the boundary and one owner seeks to construct a new fence, or 2, when a fence already exists and one owner believes it requires reconstruction or repair. Any applications received under the Line Fences Act by default are assigned as a municipal responsibility. The Line Fences Act currently applies to the entire municipality, including both urban and rural areas and municipal-owned land. The Municipal Act provides an opportunity for municipalities to opt out of the Line Fences Act to all or a portion of the municipality. Many municipalities across Ontario have taken the position that disputes over boundary fences should be resolved civilly between affected property owners and have passed a bylaw to opt out of these responsibilities. Staff are unaware of any applications made under the Line Fences Act in the municipality of North Perth over the last 2 terms of council. Therefore, staff are recommending that council adopt the non-application of the Line Fences Act bylaw attached to my report. And this proactive approach will reduce the municipality's involvement in potential future private line fence disputes, resulting in savings of municipal staff time and a reduction in the administrative burden associated with administering these applications under the Line Fences Act. Should 2 property owners wish to construct a fence on a shared boundary line, they would be encouraged to enter into a written agreement addressing the fence location, cost sharing, fence type, and any ongoing maintenance responsibilities. Should one party default, it would be considered a private matter outside of municipal jurisdiction. It is noted that the only portion of the Line Fences Act that council cannot exempt the municipality from is Section 20, which provides for fencing responsibilities of owners of former rail lines in locations where farming business is carried on an adjoining land. As there are properties within this municipality along the former rail line that is now used as a recreational trail that are affected by Section 20, these statutory obligations would continue to apply. Should council choose to adopt the non-application bylaw, staff will express council's appreciation to the appointed fence viewers for their service and commitment to this role and advise them that the fence viewer appointment will no longer be required. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Colleagues, questions, first comments? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you. So I did speak to one of our fence viewers today. And he believed that he was called out 7 or 8 years ago. He couldn't put a specific time on it, but he knew it wasn't that long ago. He's also a fence viewer for another municipality in Perth County, and they've had 2 disputes also in the last 10 years. He's been a fence viewer since his dad passed away, and his dad was since his dad passed away. It kind of goes like that. The only thing I have about, I'm not totally in support of going away from it, because if you've got 2 neighbors fighting, what we send out is a referee. And in the fence viewer that I spoke with today, he has helped referee 3 or 4 of these in the last 20 years, where if we had to go to court, if they had to go civilly or whatever, it's going to be dragged out for 6 months or a year or whatever, where they were able to solve it over 2 weeks, a 2-week period or a 3-week period. So that's my only reason for not getting rid of it. If we don't have any instances, it doesn't take much staff time, is what I'm thinking. But being such a rural, and I know there's not as many fences. I don't pasture any cattle anymore. And, you know, there's a lot of farmers don't. Mark does, so I better not ask him. So I know there's not going to be as many disputes, but I do think we are there as a referee. It's a local person, and you don't have to call your lawyer on your neighbor. And usually when you call your lawyer on your neighbor, it gets really ugly really quick. And some of these are ugly right off the bat. And the referee we send often just calms the situation down. So I'm actually not in favor of getting rid of the Line Fences Act. I'd just as soon keep it. Sorry, Lindsay.
Okay, comments from staff?
That's okay. Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg, if I may make a rebuttal. The last file that I could find was from 2014 in this municipality, and it is I completely support yours, but just from a staff perspective, I just want to share the amount of resources that does take for municipal staff. I did mention in the report that there is quite a bit legislatively that goes into preparing these files and following the Line Fences Act. So municipal costs, if we did receive an application, it is a $200 fee from the landowner to apply for this application. Each fence viewer, there are 3 that need to be appointed. Currently, there are 2 appointed through this municipality, and each, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we pay them $100 each to go out to these to view the fences. With that, municipal costs are also incurred through preparing meeting notices, circulation to the notices, any decisions. They have to conduct the on-site meetings, prepare meeting minutes, complete title searches, review the surveys, calculate cost allocations, and administer follow-up and appeal processes. And the last one we did get refereed was appealed. So I'm just leaving that with staff, but happy to answer any other questions.
Okay. Sounds like those costs can add up. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. Anyone else with questions, comments? Councillor Blazek?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Keisenberg. And I'm sorry, I don't think you're going to like this either, Lindsay, but is it possible to look at a cost recovery system or fee in favor of being able to keep the line fences? Because I'm feeling the same way as Councillor Johnson.
Through you, Mayor Keisenberg, I might defer to the Deputy CEO at Little here to answer that.
Okay. So can we do full fee recovery for these?
Through the mayor to Councillor Blazek, it's a good question. I don't know that we have a specific answer. It's our understanding that we would not be able to do that in terms of cost recovery. That's based on our understanding right now, but we can certainly take it away if council would like to confirm what cost recovery would look like. But it's our understanding that it's not applicable in this case.
Okay. Anyone else with questions or comments? Oh, we have a conversation going on here. CAO Snell, did you want to weigh in?
Certainly, I understand where council is coming from with regard to the hesitation for the rural component, and maybe we can bring this back, but certainly the Line Fences Act can apply to all urban settings as well. And initially, I think the Line Fences Act was mainly from livestock owner to livestock owner, but it is now being used in more urban settings. So I think maybe if council's direction, we could take it back to look at least just permitting this to be used for its original creation, which is livestock owner to livestock owner.
Okay, that seems like a reasonable suggestion. That's a great idea. Okay, thank you. So I'm sensing a few nodding heads around the table. I think we're going to substitute a motion here with regards to this, to the effect that the council directs staff to revisit the recommendations for non-application of the Line Fence Act with specific interest in removing urban application or application in urban areas in the municipality of North Perth. I think that was the general gist of it. Okay, seem right to everyone? Anyone have any improvements to make on that? All right, I think we have a resolution. Councillor Johnson was the one nodding, saying he was good with it, so you can be the mover. Councillor Nordholm will be our seconder, thank you. Any discussion or debate? There goes my pen. Councillor Rothwell, go ahead.
Mayor Todd, just further to Councillor Blazek's point as to whether or not it would be appropriate to request staff to investigate the issue of the financial side of this as terms of a cost recovery basis. I think we'd appreciate that as well.
Okay, including costs and cost recovery. Okay. All right. That's okay with the mover and the seconder if we just sort of tack that on. Seems like a reasonable request, all right. Any further discussion or debate on this one? Substituted motion. Do you want to read back what you have just before we go to vote?
That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives the report entitled Non-Application of the Line Fences Act in the Municipality of North Perth, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to revisit the recommendations for non-application of the Line Fences Act with specific interest in removing urban applications in the municipality and include cost recovery efforts.
Thank you. Seems reasonable. Everyone got it? We know what we're voting on? All right, let's have that vote. Councillor Blazek records a manual in favor vote.
I will too.
Councillor Nordum records a manual in favor vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Raftis. Thank you for bringing that forward. Let's next consider an item from the Development and Protective Services Department as item 9.2. I guess we have two, actually. It's item 9.2 of our agenda. Is that where we are? Yes. Or is it 9.3? I'm a little lost. Is it 9.2? It's 9.2, right? All right, thank you. Item 9.2.1, council is presented with an application for consent to sever a lot in the Elmo ward. The proponent is Dolmetsch Holdings, represented by MHBC Planning. Severance would affect land zoned currently light industrial or M1. I'll call on Nathan Garland, a planner from the County of Perth, who works on North Perth files, to introduce this report. Welcome, as always, Mr. Garland.
Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg, members of North Perth Council. I have a short presentation for severance application B05 2026. The owners are Dolmetsch Holdings Limited, and the applicant is MHBC Planning Limited also. The location, as noted, is along line 84, and it abuts Highway 23 also, and it's the former Connex Transport property, or current Connex Transport property. One moment here. So the requested severance is to sever an approximately 1.6 hectare property outside the original 14.8 hectare property. So that would be the remnant or retained lands. The retained lands do contain the Connex Transport Building property, which provides transportation services. The proposed severed property does contain North Star Horizon Limited, which provides some assembly on the property, as well as sales of saunas and trailers, etc., on the property also. There it goes. Just a couple of site photos. So this is one looking west from Highway 23, looking towards the former Connex, office space there that's now been repurposed for the North Star Horizon property. Next slide, please. And then just along line 84 also, so that's just looking towards the backside or towards the northeast side of the property. Next slide, please. Planning comments provided. So MTO was the only comment agency that did provide comments other than staff. So MTO did request or allow for a mutual access between both the properties. So it would allow for mutual access of both the severed and retained. So there would be one access point. They are requesting removal of the southern access point. So this would be a shared access between the two and the removal of the southern one. There would be still an access off of line 84 coming north. There is a 3-meter conveyance also. Sorry, apologies. And then MTO entrance permits would be required. Staff have suggested an easement required just for drainage purposes, and then also a recommendation that a future plan of subdivision be applied for in the future to develop. Staff are also requesting an updated site plan agreement just to address that separate property in its entirety. Next slide, please. Planning policies, the current property is employment uses, so it is an M1 zone as well as M1 is employment in the official plan. The OP policies support employment. As noted, the property is currently zoned M1. It does contain existing buildings as well as outdoor display area. There is some assembly on site. It would allow for a future construction of a trailer assembly or manufacturing on the property because they're currently assembled off-site, and the owners are looking to relocate potentially in the future. As staff noted, there would be a request for an updated site plan agreement in the file also for the proposed severed property. Next slide, please. Therefore, it is planning staff recommendation that North Perth Council support severance application B5 2026. I'm happy to address or answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Colleagues, questions, first comments? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and through you, thanks, Nathan, for the report. I note on the report photo, the area to be severed seems to be rather large, but when we look at that, shows the air photo date was 2020, so that was before that North Star business showed or took over the location, and I believe there's a grassed area, and that's all their display area. So I believe the majority of that area that we see on the outlined in yellow on the report photo, page 301 of our agenda package, is sort of the minimum necessary for the business, or maybe for some expansion. Is that right?
Through the mayor, I believe there is still a substantial portion to the north. There was some preliminary discussion just for our proposed future manufacturing, but through the mayor also, most of the display area is located in front in that grassed area with some, I believe, some assembly at the back also included in there. So most of the grassed area does now have display. There would be, I believe, it's a small area for the septic system also that's been left like is as is, but there is still a substantial portion to the north for future expansion also.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I have a resolution for consideration as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth advises the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Municipality of North Perth supports application file B05-26 submitted by Dalmich Holdings Limited affecting lands described as Park Lots 1 to 5 and Park Lot 6, Plan 184, Alma Ward, Municipality of North Perth, subject to the following conditions. There are 7 for North Perth. There are 5 from the Ministry of Transportation, and there are 2 from Perth County. They are in the report. Colleagues, can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Duncan, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Nordum. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Mr. Garland, as always. Next up is item 9.2.2. Staff are seeking conditional budget approval for the acquisition of a decontamination and restroom trailer. This action is contingent on the issuance of a grant for up to $48,000 from the Fire Protection Grant Program, supported by the Office of the Fire Marshal. So the amounts that we designate from municipal funds here, namely $51,500 if my math is right, and the actual purchase are conditional on us receiving the grant funds from Ontario. I'm going to call on Director of Development and Protective Services and Fire Chief Jenny Pape to give us a briefing on this proposition. Welcome, Chief Pape.
Good evening, Mayor Todd and members of council. My report tonight seeks conditional 2027 capital budget approval for the purchase of a decontamination and restroom trailer for the North Perth Fire Department. The purpose of this project is to strengthen firefighter health and safety, improve rehabilitation during prolonged emergency incidents, and further reduce firefighter exposure to carcinogens and other contaminants. The proposed trailer would include a single shower and restroom. This would allow firefighters to begin decontamination at the emergency scene while also providing appropriate washroom facilities during longer duration incidents. Staff have toured a production facility and viewed models located near North Perth. Our existing support vehicles are capable of towing this type of trailer. On-scene contamination helps reduce direct exposure to contaminants, limits inhalation risks associated with contaminated gear that continues to off-gas even after the fire is out, and reduces the transfer of contamination into the fire apparatus and fire stations. The total estimated project cost is $99,500 excluding HST. Staff propose applying for $48,000 through the 2026-2027 Ontario Fire Protection Grant Program, which is the per station, each station is allocated $16,000. We have 3 stations, so the $48,000. The remaining municipal contribution would be $51,500. The municipal contribution would only be required if the grant application is successful. Accordingly, staff are requesting conditional approval so that the municipality can move forward with procurement if provincial funding is awarded. While funding is not guaranteed under the Ontario Fire Protection Grant, this is the 3rd and final year of funding that was committed to with the aim of preventing cancer among firefighters, and that promise was made to the Ontario Fire Service in 2024. The application deadline is September 1st, which is why I'm asking now. This project builds on previous fire protection grant funding used by the department to purchase personal protective equipment and portable decontamination equipment. This is a practical investment in firefighter health and safety that leverages available provincial funding to reduce the cost to the municipality. I'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Chief Pape. Just quickly, other municipalities in our regional neighborhood who have acquired this equipment, can you comment on that?
Not immediately local to us, no. We became aware of this through the Office of the Fire Marshal. They had circulated an article about the facility that was producing these and that they are an Ontario product, which was interesting to us.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, any other questions or comments? Councillor Johnston.
Just a comment, I think it's a great project, and I love spending 50-cent dollars if we can get the grant. It's always good.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Rothwell, then Councillor Nordum.
Thanks, Mayor Todd, through you. Thanks, Jenny, for the report. I also am very excited about this project. The time frame, you've talked about when the application is due. Do we know when the approval process would be for the provincial funds?
Through you, Mayor Todd. In the past, it's a couple months window. We haven't been denied yet. We've received the maximum. Even the way the application is written, it speaks to the 16,000.
And further, if I may, just in terms of a timing, is there a window in which those dollars, if we are successful, have to be spent? And the reason I'm asking is that for the 2027 capital, is this something that has to be spent in 2026, or what's the time frame? Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Todd. We have to have the project committed to by March 31st because that is the province's year end. So that's the requirement, but it doesn't actually have to be in our possession until December 31st of next year.
Councillor Nordum.
Thanks, and through you, Mayor Kasenberg, thanks for the report, Chief Pape. Just curious on the grants, is it either full grant, is there half grants kind of with this program? Just more or less curious if it's going to be full grant, or they might say maybe $20,000 instead of the full 48. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Todd. To this point, it's been full grant. They went so far as to include the per station amount. They didn't do that in the first year, but now they've actually specified that in the grant.
Okay, so we're not expecting a surprise deduction at the last moment. Okay, Councillor Blazek.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kissenberg. I apologize if I missed this. Was there any information on like the life expectancy of this trailer and, you know, like maintenance costs and stuff like that throughout the years of its life?
Through you, Mayor Todd, that's a great question. We have a high standard of maintenance in the fire service because we need to be prepared at all times. We would estimate a 15 to 20 year lifespan on this, but we do have a history of stretching things longer because we maintain them well. Maintenance cost, we'll be pulling it behind an existing support vehicle. We would have to do annuals on it. I would think fairly minimal, but that would be included in next year's budget. We would get better estimates for you.
Councillor Anstead.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, through you, and thanks, Chief Pete, for your report. And similar to Councillor Blazek's question, and I apologize if I missed this as well, but in terms of deployment, does this go to every call, or what's the determination on that? Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Todd. The washroom facility is becoming more problematic, and so I would say calls that would be 3.5 to 4 hours in length, we would be looking to deploy for washroom. Any fire that we have, and when I say any fire, it would be a structure fire that we respond to because those carcinogens then are traveling back in the gear and in the trucks. So any fire that we have.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Thanks, Chief Pape. Just wondering if there's a shower incorporated into this. Is there like a gray water tank similar to like an RV that would need to be flushed? I'm assuming you're not just washing it on the ground.
Through you, Mayor Todd, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? We're learning lots tonight about decontamination trailers, apparently. All right. Okay, I have a resolution then for our consideration as follows. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth provides conditional approval for a capital project in the amount of $99,500, excluding HST, for the purchase of a decontamination and restroom trailer for the North Perth Fire Department, subject to the municipality being successful in its application under the 2026-2027 Ontario Fire Protection Grant. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Johnston, thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Chief Pape.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing that in service. We look forward to the Ontario government giving us money. We like that. All right, moving on to item 10 on our agenda. Does any member of council wish consent of council for a report from staff or one of our committees? Councillor Nordum has this microphone on. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Kaysenberg. This would be a request for our facilities department. I'm just wondering if we can do more to maybe increase shade by the spin right soccer field. Maybe work towards maybe planting a few more trees or some shade structures. I'm just I'm interested to hear some staff input on that. So yeah, that would be my request tonight for maybe some. I don't know how to put that into a motion, but maybe our clerk's department can come up with something good.
Sure. Looks like they're working on it. I assume you will move this. All right. Let's hear what it sounds like first, just to be clear so that we can ask for a reasonable second. Okay, Clerk Klein, you want to give it a go?
Through you, Mayor, this is what we have drafted, that the Municipality of North Perth, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to investigate opportunities to increase shade at the Spin Right soccer field.
Sounds pretty good. Does that reflect your intent, Councillor Udom? Can I call for a seconder? Okay, seconded by Councillor Anstead. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, if you're ready, let's have that vote. Okay, so we have some kicked out here. Let's do this one at a time. Councillor Blazek, in favor? Oh, you got in? Okay. Deputy Mayor Kellum? Okay, everyone is in. That is carried. They need to feed the hamsters better. Okay, let's move on then. Unless there's another request for a report, let me just check in before we move. All right, so let's turn to item 11 on our agenda. We have received a request for use of municipal facilities, including a portion of the parking lot on Main Street East and Character Square for this Friday, August 14th, from the Listowel Maker Market, I believe is the name of the Farm and Maker Market. Any objections to considering this approval? I will point out, I believe that this is a private sector entity that's making this request. Can staff offer comment on that?
Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg, as far as I'm aware, I might look to CAO Snell for further comment, but this event was originally planned by the BIA, but I believe due to the transition of some staff, the kind of planning transitioned over to this Listowel Farm and Maker Market organization.
Okay. Anything to change about Clerk Klein's comments? Thank you. Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd. I would just point out that there's a sign actually advertising this already, and I would just perhaps, if council is in agreement with this moving forward, which I believe we should be, just a word of caution to the promoter that they perhaps should make sure that the approval is in place before they advertise. Thank you.
I noticed that myself. And do they not normally need some kind of consent from council for displaying roadside signage for such things? I'm looking to staff for comment. Chief Pape is nodding her head. Yeah. We have a bylaw that prohibits signage unless there's consent of council, I believe. We've seen a number of those resolutions over my year as mayor, or years as mayor. It's not just been one. Okay, so Is council ready then to consider the resolution? Is that fair? All right, it is as follows, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the Listowel Farm and Maker Market to use a portion of the municipal parking lot at 169 Main Street East for the Listowel Night Market on August 14th, 2026, as outlined in the request letter, and that North Perth Public Works, Fire, OPP, and Perth County EMS be advised, and soon, of the event. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Blazek. You have a question?
Thank you. Sorry, through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Would it be reasonable to suggest that perhaps this support from council is like a one-time thing, really to help out our friends at the BIA, and that in the future we hand this back to them rather than the expectation being that the municipality continue to support that, or is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we can direct a private body that comes forward saying that they want to do this. I appreciate that there may have originally been collaboration with the BIA, but I think, like, to me, the greater principle here is, should for-profit entity have right to reserve this with no fee attached to it, right? CAO Snell, you're looking like you had something to say.
My understanding is that the BIA will be taking this event back under their own control once the coordinator is in place. It just happens with unfortunate timing. There is a gap between coordinators, about 2 months, but it does impact this event. But my understanding is that this will become a BIA event in 2027.
Okay. I think to Councillor Blazek's point, though, she's concerned about the precedent that may be set here. So perhaps we need to say something in the resolution so that future councils and people looking at our minutes understand that this is a one-time exceptional circumstance somehow, that it's not precedent setting. It's not for my take, I would oppose this resolution if it were setting a precedent for private sector parties to be having access to rent our facilities without a cost. So I think something needs to be said about that. Clerk Klein, you look like you have a thought.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Thank you for your comments. We have seen requests to use that specific parking lot come forward to council. I believe this same organization, Listowel Farm and Maker Market, has a summer farmers market in that parking lot as well. So perhaps council, if council wishes to pursue the matter of looking at charging a fee for organizations to use that parking lot, that could be a separate direction to staff to develop a policy and procedure for that.
Thank you. And my concern is not so much the not-for-profit sector, it's the for-profit sector. Anyway, we have a resolution, right? But we didn't get a mover or a seconder yet, I don't think. So I'll call for a mover. Someone wish to move this? Councillor Nordum, Councillor Johnston is our seconder. All right. Any discussion or debate? Did we add to it the possibility of? Apparently not. Should we add to it, colleagues, that this is a one-time extenuating circumstances? Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Those are the good words. Given the extenuating circumstances, this is not intended to set a precedent. Let's wait for the clerks to sort out the wording for us. Okay, Clerk Klein, go for it.
Through the mayor, we've just added some additional wording in the first part of the clause here, so that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the Listowel Farm and Maker Market as a one-time exception to use the portion of the municipal parking lot.
Okay, that'll be acceptable. That will constrain the potential future understanding of this. All right. So it's been moved and seconded. You guys comfortable with that adjustment? All right. Any discussion or debate further? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. At this point, I'm going to yield the chair temporarily to Deputy Mayor Kellum for item 11.2. I have some comments here for you that you can use.
For the record, please note that Mayor Kasenberg declared clear interest on this item. Moving on to 11.2, we have a request from the United Way Perth Huron for the use of municipal facilities, including a portion of the parking lot on Main Street East, Character Square, and various other supports. Any objections to considering this approval? Councillor Nordum?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Kellum. In the letter, it makes mention towards a flag. I'm just curious, did we do that in the previous year?
I'll defer to Clerk Klein for this.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, yes, we have waved the flag for United Way previously. And I would say that per our flag flying policy, those requests are delegated to staff to approve. So similar to the pride flag being flown in June, that request wouldn't have come directly to council. Staff makes the decision in line with our policy to fly flags from these types of organizations.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, I have a motion that reads that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from United Way, Perth Huron, for the use of a portion of the municipal parking lot at 169 Main Street East and municipal barricades for the 2026 campaign kickoff event as outlined in the request letter, and that North Perth Public Works, Fire, OPP, and Perth County EMS be advised of the event. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, second by Councillor Richardson. Questions or comments? If not, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Please invite Mayor Kasenberg back in.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for assistance there. At this point, as item 12, we turn to consideration of 4 bylaws that have been recommended to us for action. The enabling resolution outlines these bylaws, their number and their purpose. Before I read a resolution for passing this item, does any councillor wish an individual or recorded vote on these bylaws? Councillor Nordum?
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg. Just want to confirm that 12.4 might be striked tonight.
Yes, I think that seems appropriate based on earlier council action. So we will strike the item with regards to the non-application of the Line Fences Act. That means that we have 3 bylaws that we're now considering. Yes, Councillor Nordum.
And then secondary, I would like to pull 12.2 and 12.3.
So we want to separate this into individual votes for each of them?
I guess we can separate 12.1 and leave 12.2 and 12.3 separate.
Together?
Together.
Okay. What is the rationale for your request, just so council knows?
For the bylaw?
For separating those into 2 separate resolutions? You want to
So to vote on it separately.
Right. So
what's my rationale?
Yeah. Just
I don't agree with 12.2 and 12.3.
Okay. Okay. So council, we have a request to split out the 12.1 as its own isolated item, and then 2 and 3 be considered separately. So 2 different resolutions here. Just make sure the clerk's table understands where we're going with this, and we have some rationale. Is there general consent from council? Anyone object to Councillor Nordum's request to separate those items? Okay, I'm not seeing any objection, Councillor Nordum, so we'll handle that then. Shall we tackle the first one, colleagues, then? That the following bylaw is hereby passed, 55-2026 being a bylaw to amend Schedule B of the Fees and Charges bylaw. Can I call for a mover on this one? Moved by Councillor Duncan, thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Callum. Any discussion or debate? Are the clerks ready for this separated? All right, thank you. Let's have that vote. Okay, we have some people losing connectivity again, so let's do this carefully here. Councillor Blazek is in favor. Councillor Duncan is in favor. Councillor Richardson is in favor. Manually recorded votes. Does that bring us to what we need? And it appears to, so that is carried. Thank you. All right. So the second resolution here will be as follows. The following bylaws are hereby passed. 57-2026 being a bylaw to amend the traffic bylaw 47-PW-2000, and 58-2026 being a bylaw to amend the traffic bylaw 12-2026. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Blazek. I think I saw your hand wave. Relying on my peripheral vision there, it was quick. All right, so moved and seconded. Colleagues, comments? We'll start with Councillor Blazek.
No, changed my mind.
No? Nope, she withdraws. Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd. Can we just get clarification in terms of the intent of 57-2026? My understanding is this is the bylaw that's looking at reducing the speeds around the school zone specifically. Is that correct? Or is it, and then if that's correct, just confirming then the 58, the intent of 58 then?
Okay. Mr. Ropp, did you want to speak to that? We'll call forward Matt Ropp, our Director of Infrastructure Services. It looks like he's prepared to speak to this. Mr. Ropp.
So through the mayor, sorry for confusion on that. The rationale for the two bylaws, the reason was we were previously at council a few months ago proposing for an updated traffic and parking bylaw. And to make that go into full force, it still needs to be approved by the province. So at that council meeting, this council passed the bylaw. Sorry, I can't read it all from back here, but it was the 2026 bylaw. And until the province approves that, our existing 2000 bylaw is still into play. So, and for clarity, the two of them are kind of riding together parallel. The 47-2000 is the one that we are currently using to enforce. The one from 2026, once approved by the province, will be coming into effect. So the changes that you see are the exact same changes in both bylaws.
Okay, thank you. Does that help?
It helps a lot. I thought it was a test. Thank you.
Staff is now proposing eye tests to council. All right. Anyone else with comments? Councillor Nurdum, did you want to weigh in on this since you asked for the cleavage of this item?
No further comments. I provided comments at our last council meeting, so I'll stick with those. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we have this moved and seconded. I think we're ready for the vote. If the clerks are ready, they're smiling and nodding their heads. That's a good sign. And are we going to have some manual votes here? Anyone not get in? And that is carried. Thank you very much. And Mr. Rupp, thanks for coming tonight and pitching in to help us with our eye tests. All right, let's turn to item 13 on our agenda. Does any councillor wish leave to give notice of motion for our next meeting, although it's not for our next meeting? Councillor Blazek, you're up.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. All right, so since the perhaps 26th or 27th of July, the road in front of the municipal office has been closed because of bridge construction. I happen to live on the side of town that uses that road as our primary outlet, and since that road is no longer available, many people in the area that I live, including myself, are using Queen Street East as our primary outlet. And in that 2 weeks, I have seen some wild stuff happen on that road when there are cars parked on both sides, sometimes one side. And I actually went so far as to just sit myself on the corner of Queen and York to watch the traffic patterns, and it was alarming to say the least. Children on their way to the park or the public pool or the baseball diamond. I have some very serious safety concerns. So in an effort to try and expedite this process, I was hoping that council would permit us to waive the municipal notice requirement per section 18 of the procedure bylaw and allow us to permit the motion regarding temporary parking restrictions on Queen Street East to be discussed and voted on this evening.
Great, thank you. So there's a procedural matter first. The procedure bylaw indicates that notice can be waived with a 2/3 vote of council. So we've set up a resolution then to that end, which allows the waiving of the usual notice period. And I'll bring that resolution to the floor at this point. As follows: the Council of the Municipality of North Perth waives the notice requirement in accordance with Section 18, subsection F of the procedure bylaw to permit consideration of a motion regarding temporary parking restrictions on Queen Street East. Moved by Councillor Blazek, I presume. Seconded by Councillor Rothwell. Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this? Seeing none, if you can cue that up, let's have that vote. And that is carried. All right. Now, we're kind of changing the process a little bit because now this motion is allowed on the floor. Councillor Blazek, do you wish to speak to the next one then?
Please, thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. My motion is written as follows. Whereas bridge construction on Elizabeth Street has resulted in increased traffic and changes to normal traffic patterns in the area, and whereas Queen Street East, with vehicles currently permitted to park on both sides of the roadway, has become increasingly narrow and difficult to navigate safely, particularly with the increased traffic associated with the Elizabeth Street Bridge construction. And whereas vehicles traveling along Queen Street East are required to pass parked vehicles, creating potential safety concerns for motorists, pedestrians, and other road users. Therefore, be it resolved that Council direct staff to draft an amendment to the applicable parking bylaw to temporarily prohibit parking on Queen Street East for the duration of the Elizabeth Street Bridge construction, and that appropriate temporary no parking signage be installed along Queen Street East for the duration of the construction, and that the temporary parking restriction be removed and the parking bylaw reinstated upon completion of the Elizabeth Street Bridge construction, subject to any further direction from Council.
Okay, colleagues, you've heard the resolution read to you. Considered moved by Councillor Blazek. Can I call for a seconder? Councillor Richardson, thank you. Any discussion or debate? Do we know anything about the parking that is happening on Queen Street and who we are displacing? If anyone in the process, in a process, should we approve this? Are there people who do not have a place to park their car and now we're creating a new hardship? Mr. Ropp is coming forward.
Yeah, through the mayor, I'm not overly familiar with parking requirements along that street. It's predominantly on the south side where you have supportive housing and then the hospital parking lot. So it's not necessarily on that side of the street. There are a couple residents closer to Wallace. I'm sure Councillor Blazek might know more what's happening in that street than staff do. But for sure, I can tell you it's only roughly a 7.5 meter wide road, which is narrower than most of our roads where we see on-street parking. And yes, with the closure and detour route being a detour street, it's the only street around the hospital that does not have parking restrictions.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask one more question if I might. Does staff have an opinion about the viability of executing this proposal?
Through the mayor, we didn't perceive any parking issues on Queen Street prior to the project and the detour route, but we have no concerns with what's being proposed.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions or comments? Okay, it's duly moved and seconded. I think we're probably ready for the vote, given not seeing any other questions. We're missing one. There we go. All right. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, let's move forward then to, unless there's any other notices of motion at this point, we can move forward to item 14 on our agenda. Any announcements that would be a benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? Anyone? Okay, not seeing that. We have no matters for consideration in a closed session meeting of council tonight. Regarding item 16, then, we can say that we do not have a report since the meeting was not held. Council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called a confirmatory bylaw. We'll call on Deputy Mayor Kellum to handle this resolution for us, given my earlier declared conflict.
Glenn, for the record, please note that Mayor Kaisenberg has left the room. So the motion reads as follows, that bylaw number 60-2026, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, is hereby passed. Moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Richardson. Let's get that vote, please. And that is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for your service tonight. Colleagues, I can confirm no intention to veto any item that was brought before this council as business tonight. This is provided not only verbally, but in writing, in affirmation to the clerk as part of my required duties as mayor. Councillors, we have completed deliberation and taken action on all of the business that did come before us tonight. And that means it's appropriate for us to consider adjournment. As follows, the council meeting adjourns at 9:22 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, August 4th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Anstead, seconded by Councillor Blazek. It's not a debatable motion. Let's have that vote. And we have one manual in favor vote. With that, we have unanimity. That motion carries. Our next regular council meeting is Monday, August 24th, 2026 at 7 p.m. I will be attending in part the EMO conference and represent this council's interests in business that we conducted there. And until our next meeting, this council is adjourned.